Hi everyone, welcome to our presentation. For our assignment, we chose to do the Crossrail project in London. Today's presentation will be by myself, Brad, Charlotte, Ellie and Dominique.
Our objective is to interpret the project requirements and point out the appropriate legal frameworks that impact upon corporate social responsibilities and governance requirements. I will be covering project requirements. Dom will be covering the legal frameworks, Brad will cover CSR, and Ellie will cover the governance structure of our chosen project. Crossrail is amongst the most significant infrastructure projects that's ever been undertaken in the UK. It's currently delivering the Elizabeth line. This line runs from the east of London, 42 miles underneath London in tunnels, and then to the west of London. The project has two sponsors. It's currently planning to bring the Elizabeth line into service in early 2022. It's estimated that 200 million annual passengers will use this service. This line has been put in place to bring about the benefits of transforming the rail transport in London and increasing rail capacity by 10%. This in turn will reduce congestion, allow for better connections and more comfortable journeys. Furthermore, it's estimated that £42 billion of the cost of this project will be put back into the UK revenue. Project requirements. Project requirements describes the actions, processes, or other conditions that the project needs to meet. According to the Project Management Institute, 70% of projects fail due to issues with requirements. The picture on the right shows 5 steps for identifying and gathering requirements. It is important to take time to gather, analyse, and prioritise requirements, as this will make your project easier to control and more likely that you will complete it successfully. The project requirements of Crossrail. The details on the right indicate a few of the project requirements for Crossrail. These include value for money, as obviously this is being funded by taxpayers and a few other contributors, and therefore will need robust cost control mechanisms. It also includes placing a lot of importance on relations with stakeholders such as the media and local communities, as this will help the project become more successful once it is put into operation. And it also includes a target zero safety incidents. They have placed a great importance on making sure that no safety incidents occur on the whole of the project. The project progress. So currently over 130 million working hours have been completed on the project. It is currently coming towards the end of the install and commissioning phase, and it's soon aiming to begin trials running. To do this, however, there are still a number of activities that need to be included. This is, however, vital to unlocking the passenger service. The new line will now open 4 years later than planned and also £4 billion over than the original cost. This delay has been blamed on 3 main factors: the impact of COVID-19 as delaying the schedule, lower than planned productivity, and as a result, having to revise the assumptions on the pace of the project progress. The management of the scheme has therefore been transferred from Crossrail Limited to the Transport of London in October 2020. They have been warned now that they need to ensure that past mistakes are not repeated. The assurance pyramid here shows the steps that are needed to complete the project, starting with the design and finishing with the final completion. The steps in between show the gateway reviews that need to happen to ensure that the governance structure is in place. Nearly 200,000 documents, need to be completed as part of this assurance and handover process. So this is a key challenge that still remains for the business.
So legal frameworks are essential to the function of the business. The 4 main frameworks which apply to the project requirements are the Crossrail Act, the Employment Rights Act, the Health and Safety at Work Act, and the Apprenticeship Skills, Children and Learning Act of 2009. The Crossrail Act was made specifically for the project and outlines the way in which the project should be delivered and what the aims are. It is essential this legislation is followed, as it was created specifically for the project and is highly applicable. Employment rights also apply here, as the project employs thousands of people, so it is important that this act is followed, not only to abide by the law, but to ensure that staff attrition does not rise above unsustainable levels and then affects the project's timescales. Next slide, please, Charlotte. We also have the Health and Safety at Work Act, which is useful here as the risk of injury is high due to it being a construction project. And also, as Charlotte mentioned earlier, the target zero approach the project has. This is everyone leaving work that's arrived to work without sustaining harm each day. High negligence from a business in terms of health and safety can lead to criminal prosecution. So this is very important that this legislation is abided by. Also, the Apprenticeship Act applies to this project as the project has taken on 1,000 apprentices. This means the organisation has a responsibility to ensure these apprenticeships are delivered effectively and to ensure that apprentices mature within the business, making resource management within the project in future easier. So legal frameworks in relation to CSR and governance. Without following the appropriate legal frameworks which align to the project requirements, there can be many consequences to the business. Some of those are listed here. Without acting ethically or feeling socially responsible, the business delivering the project and the project itself could suffer the above consequences. Improper governance could lead to all of the above, but also trouble with legislation such as GDPR regulations being breached and protecting sensitive information. So here we can see damaged reputation, loss of confidence in governance, high attrition rates, poor corporate social responsibility. Benefits of actually abiding by the legal frameworks can be the opposite to the above. So increased trust in the business, increased CSR, increase in business reputation. Also, proper governance would lead to the project being more likely to be successful and a low chance of legal action being taken against either the business or the project.
The purpose of the Crossrail programme governance is to describe the arrangements of the CRL governance. The main focus is on the programme governance framework, which is used to control leadership, decision-making, reporting and the management of the project to achieve its objectives. Can you go to the next slide, please? This governance framework displays the roles and areas or the responsibilities of the individuals. This shows the hierarchy of the project and identifies the appropriate communication path. This hierarchy can also be used to help delegate the work packages efficiently. Tier 1 is situated at the top and consists of the board committee, who are the CEO, the finance director and the programme director. They lead down into tier 4, which consists of the following functions: the delivery, the surface, the technical, the operational and the IMS aspects of the project. The programme leadership is responsible for reviewing and monitoring the implementation of the CRL delivery strategy, the development of the delegation strategy, advising the CEO of the strategic approach, and overseeing an effective programme governance structure. Both programme controls and integration teams support the programme leadership by ensuring the overall integrity and coherence of the project, ensuring the projects are not misaligned, accepting the risk profiles and helping decision-making on directional issues to ensure the focus is maintained on achieving the project's objectives. Can you move on to the next slide, please? This can help aid decision-making within the project as it shows that the CRL board committee is responsible for the high-level decision-making. These decisions can then be filtered down through the hierarchy until all functions have been notified. On contrast, it is more difficult to cycle up the hierarchy because lower grade employees may be more unwilling to speak up against management. There may be an insufficient communication path and the lack of management availability. Next slide, please. The reporting of these decisions can be done in numerous ways, such as the use of steering groups. They can provide focus and support for the overall governance, direction and delivery of the project. Frequent meetings can be held to provide updates. These meetings are designed to be held every 8 weeks for 2 hours, and all employees can be provided with emails for quicker updates at any time. Next slide, please. All these elements can help aid the management of the Crossrail programme governance to deliver a successful project. The project development agreement requires CRL to undertake the overall project management to organise, manage and coordinate the delivery of the project. Crossrail is a complex project, so it is necessary to delegate the responsibility through the hierarchy to achieve the objective, and to describe how the project leadership is supported in directing a successful delivery of the sponsor's requirements in accordance with the delivery strategy, and to produce a comprehensive governance framework for all the team members to understand.
I'll start. Right. So corporate social responsibility refers to the impact that an organisation makes on society, the environment and the economy. In previous years, CSR tends to lean towards donating money to charity, say, after the project's finished. But in more recent times, corporate social responsibilities become more about the way you're making money sensibly through your business practices, through ethical procedures and processes. So by having an effective social responsibility strategy, you're able to contribute positively to all the stakeholders throughout the project lifecycle. And by doing this, you're adding value to the organisation, but because you're operating in a sustainable way. On the diagram on the left, you can see 4 different levels of responsibility, which Archie Carroll set out in 1991. The model helps explain the different responsibilities and how the organisation should operate in each one. Then the next slide, please, Charlotte. So environmental and ethical sustainability. So building new infrastructure requires significant use of natural resources, and it will always have an impact on the local communities surrounding it. Crossrail mentions that minimising the impact is something that they take extremely seriously, and they strive to create a balance between the goods and services and the impacts on the products and materials across the whole life cycle. In the works information of the Crossrail project, it mentions that all materials should be procured in accordance with the ETI base code, which is a standard code for ethical trading and sets out the best practice for sourcing materials for a project. The code is founded on the conventions of the International Labour Organization and is internationally recognised as the best code of practice. As well as this, Crossrail also has its own sustainability frameworks. Next slide, please, Charlotte. So philanthropic responsibilities. So since the start of the Crossrail programme, more than 1,000 apprenticeships have been created, which is 600 more than the initial 400 target. All these apprentices have been trained in a different range of professions, from civil engineering to business admin to mechanical and electrical engineering. So by doing this, Crossrail was able to support the government's commitment to see 3 million more apprenticeships by 2020 and help equip people with skills that are greatly needed in the UK and helping to bridge the skills gap. This not only helps the current project, but it also aids the future infrastructure projects through employing 5,000 unemployed local people to help with Crossrail, and also partnering with women in construction to bridge the gap with women in engineering. And over 40,000 students were taught about the project through the Young Crossrail programme, which partnered with local schools along the Crossrail route. Next slide, please, Charlotte. Economic responsibility. So the Crossrail programme is part of the UK's plan to meet the growing population of London, which is expected to reach 10 million by 2030. The project will increase rail capacity by 10%, which is the largest single increase in the capital's transport capacity in over 70 years. The net economic benefit is substantial, from the jobs created during construction and the operation of the route, and also by the time saved during use of the service. The project is expected to generate at least £42 billion for the UK economy. Not only is the route efficient for travel, it is also going to create 3 million square feet of high quality office space, retail and residential space, which is directly above or near the new central stations. From this new space, it is estimated to raise £500 million towards the Crossrail funding package, which is ultimately reducing the cost of Crossrail to the taxpayer. Next slide, please, Charlotte.
So to summarise, you should now have an improved understanding of the project requirements, legal frameworks, corporate social responsibility, or CSR, and governance structure. From the research we have carried out and what we have read, it is clear that the project requirements and legal frameworks have a direct impact on the corporate social responsibility and governance. Going forward, there is evidence to suggest that more businesses will be more conscious around their social responsibility and take more accountability for this. For example, the Chinese Company Act was revised in 2006 to make CSR a requirement for all businesses in China. This shows that going forward in the future, this may expand globally and may become law within other countries. Thank you for listening to our presentation. If you have any questions, we now have 10 minutes to answer them. This is our references we used.